We're working on YouTube Live. I'll let you know once we're on.
Sherry O'Connell, where is she from? I didn't. She from Salvation Army?
Yes,
Salvation Army, okay.
Yeah.
and we are live on YouTube, and we are live recording on Zoom, and we are live with mics on Granicus. So once Councilmember Mohobi joins, I think we can begin. Here he comes.
Oh, he was just.
Whenever Mayor's ready.
I am calling to order tonight's meeting, Monday, January 24th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We have our invocation from Sherry O'Connell of the Salvation Army.
I do not see that Sherry is with us this evening.
Okay, well then we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I will please stand and I will give the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Kong,
Here.
Councilmember Garcia,
Here.
Councilmember Mohobi,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis is absent and excused. Mayor Schwartz,
Here.
thank you.
Public comment. Notice to the public. This time is set aside to receive public comment on matters not calendared on the agenda. When recognized by the mayor, please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Under California law, the City Council is prohibited from generally discussing or taking action on items not included in the agenda. However, the City Council may briefly respond to comments or questions from members of the public. Therefore, the City Council will listen to all public comment, but will not generally discuss the matters or take action on it. Do we have any public comment?
We have no public comments in our public comment email, and I do not see any raised hands. Elaine, can you confirm?
There are no raised hands.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to presentations. Business Resource Center Business Plan. The council will hear a presentation on the Business Resource Center Business Plan in Bishop, presented by Inyo County Administrative Analysts Michaela Beal, Thea Chase of A Company Co., and Gabe Preston of RPI Consulting. Okay, I'll hand it over to you guys.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to your board for allowing us to come once again and present to you on the Eastern Sierra Small Business Resource Center. I think the last time we were here, we were knee deep in the research, data, and planning elements. And now we have the plan. Yay. So we have a draft roadmap of where we want to go. So first want to take a minute and introduce the panelists, the team that we have here tonight. We have Thea Chase, the founder and CEO of A Company Co. We have Gabe Preston of RPI. We have Leslie Chapman, who I forgot to introduce last time, so I'm making extra sure I do it tonight. Administrator for the County of Inyo. And I don't know if Lael is here tonight or not, but we will move. Oh, Lael's here. So Lael is also here of A Company Co, who keeps all the wheels turning and keeps all of us on track. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Thea to walk us through the business plan. And we are really excited to for you guys to hear the plan, and at the end of the presentation to get your feedback and any questions that you have. So Thea, take it away.
Great, thank you very much, and appreciate having us be there for your meeting tonight. Can you see my screen? Awesome, great. So yes, we are the contractor that was hired by Inyo County, developed the business plan for the Eastern Sierra Small Business Resource Center. And we have presented this to the Board of Supervisors, and then we had a public meeting earlier today, which we had a really good attendance at and some good questions and answers. So it was really an excellent meeting. So we're happy to present it to the City of Bishop, the council, and thank you for having us tonight. So we can take questions during the presentation or at the end. I think sometimes it's easier to do it at the end, but if there's something burning, please don't hesitate to interrupt. So a couple things that we'll discuss tonight is how we got there, and many of you have been involved in this project for a lot longer than I have, so you'll know more about the history than I will, but we'll talk a little bit about how we got here, what the vision and the goals are for this, what we're going to call the BRC. It's easier than the ESS BRC, so we're going to abbreviate it to the Business Resource Center, the BRC, and the strategy and kind of how the Company Co and RPI team went through our process to identify opportunities, and what the business plan looks like and next steps. So how we got here, the community, always in the center of these business resource, this business resource center or this initiative is really the entrepreneurs. So the county did an RFP looking for a firm that would be able to kind of look at this with the working group, and always in all the language and the RFP and everything else, it was always about the Inyo County residents and the entrepreneurs that are here today, and the entrepreneurs of tomorrow, and the small business owners, and providing services to those individuals and those companies. So they're always going to be at the center of this kind of effort. The working group, we've had a 6-month process so far, and we've had a working group that Elaine is on that working group, and a lot of you have already weighed in and participated, and there's been just a really amazing effort to provide input. We also did a bunch of interviews. Our team was on the ground on 3 different trips, and we interviewed business owners and potential business owners and people that were partners and involved in the business community. We've had a lot of input. There's an investor, an opportunity zone investor who purchased a building downtown and approached the county and the working group and wanted to make this investment to create a nice space in the middle of downtown, the main street, and also invest back into the community. So it's a great use of the opportunity zone designation. The county has provided the leadership with the funding for the initial study and the assigning staff and getting the working group together. So that's been excellent. And the partners, obviously the city is a major partner, and there's many partners in the region as well as statewide. And so, part of what we grapple with in rural areas is not having enough resources locally to be able to provide a real rich environment and a real a resource intensive for businesses. And it's because of our population and our isolated, whether we're isolated or whether it's population based, we just don't have the resources. So relying on the partners from the region and from the state are very important. Starting with the vision and goals and objectives, the vision is to grow the economy and the opportunities for residents of Inyo County. And these are the goals and objectives. Living wage employment is extremely important. Obviously, the entrepreneurship ecosystem, we'll talk more about that. A navigator program, again, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but essentially it's trying to resources to people when they need them in the way that they can digest them easily. And securing enough capital resources to fuel business growth. And that's a very important part of startup and existing business expansion, is being able to access funding to help that happen. Celebrating the region's diversity and the uniqueness. Being an advocate for business and market opportunities, and looking for where those market opportunities are, and being an advocate and catalyst and making those have impact into Inyo County. And to be a partner, a collaborator, a leader. As I mentioned before, we can't do it all. We don't have the resources to do it all. We don't have the population to do it all, but there's a lot of really good initiatives going on in the region, and connecting to them and utilizing them to help the businesses in Inyo County, and then vice versa, participating in some of these efforts. So here's the future home, what was the Crafters Mall. I'm sure that you're all familiar with this building. And the Opportunity Zone investor has hired an architect and has some really excellent plans in terms of how that is going to be no longer kind of a building that looks like it has some dating and it could use some work. It's going to be something that you're going to be real proud of to have downtown. Excuse me. So imagine that you are somebody that wants to start a company, and that, you know, and maybe it's a trekking business, maybe it's a guiding service, maybe it's an existing business that's a bakery that wants to maybe expand. Maybe you've been operating out of a commercial kitchen, but now you want a storefront, or maybe you're looking into what it would take to get into grocery stores or to other outlets, or maybe you're launching rockets and you're looking for intellectual property protection, or you're considering your options in terms of employees. I mean, all of these things would generate questions, right? So the individuals that are in business today have questions on how to expand, and the businesses that are coming up, or people that are considering businesses, have lots of questions about how do they start, and what kind of permitting is necessary, and how do I write a business plan, and where do I get funding, and you know, what today we had some great conversation at the public meeting about, well, you know, how do I know like how I compare to other businesses that are like my business, right? So there's lots of questions. And what the hope of the BRC is that we capture those questions, and then we are able to provide solid resources in a timely and digestible manner, so that people can get their questions answered. So at the top of this funnel, and we use the funnel to describe kind of this process, you want to just capture everybody. You want to capture people that are thinking about going into business, people that are in business already, people that are in some of the target sectors that we'll talk about. And you want to capture them at the top of the funnel, and then you want to engage them. And as you move down through the funnel, a lot of the initiatives that you do, a lot of the programming that you do becomes more intensive, because you're trying to help them to actually launch companies or to expand. So it requires more services. So we'll start with this navigator program. Oops, I'm sorry. I'll talk about that in a little while. We'll start about this navigator program, and then the navigator is basically a directional piece. So it's when you go to your banker and you ask a question, the banker can answer certain questions, and then they can also direct you to where the other questions can be answered. When you go to the town, the city, then you have certain questions, and maybe you'll get your business license, or you'll get some questions answered about zoning, but then you have questions about the business side of things, so they'll direct you to where you can go to get other types of questions answered. So we're using this funnel as a way of describing the approach that we're using for the BRC. So the Accompanyco team uses a process where we look at both data and we talk to people on the ground. And so we, like I mentioned before, we did over 30 interviews with businesses and people interested in business, people in the ecosystem around business in Inyo County during this process. And through the interviews and through our data collection, we've come up with our recommendations. So I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Gabe Preston, to talk about some of the things we found out.
So we wanted to look at the data. You know, it's very important to we almost sort of switch back and forth. And as we develop the strategies between doing interviews and looking at the economic data and looking at broad trends and looking at more detailed data. But one thing I should mention is that we didn't have any preconceived notions of what the opportunities were. And that's the great thing about, you know, being from Colorado, and it was pretty easy for us to do that. So, you know, some of the opportunities that we point out are in industries that already exist. Not all of this is new, and some of it's just building off of sectors that are already doing quite well. So one of those is tourism. We looked for some opportunities to expand and diversify tourism. One of the big opportunities that's, you know, before you all now is the fact that there's passenger service, commercial passenger service at Bishop Airport. And the forecast for those emplanements is, you know, it's expected, those emplanements are expected to grow pretty rapidly over the next 10 years. So one of the obvious opportunities is ground transportation. A lot of the current passengers are guests for, you know, this ski resort and other activities up in Mammoth. But there's also, we've heard there's sort of an underlying unmet need for ground transportation in Inyo County. So the other thing that we observed is that your communities are really well set up as supply centers for outings into the backcountry or into the desert or long road trips. And you can get a lot of different sporting goods, any kind of food you need, you know, great lodging and all that. But they are really, there's an opportunity for leisure shopping and just fun shopping. If people are going to overnight there, they're going to look around for a fun place to, you know, fun shop to go into. And we noticed there really weren't a lot of those kinds of stores around. And also on the same sort of line of thinking, there's amazing outdoor recreational opportunities in the backcountry and the bouldering, and a lot of it's pretty challenging. It's just not, it's not easy going there. The mountains are steep and big. And so the thinking is maybe some easier entry recreational activities closer to town, and other sorts of activities that may not have anything to do with outdoor recreation, but just entertainment type activities. Next slide. And it's pretty well known that there's a lot more spending by your residents in Inyo County than gets captured by the businesses there. So overall, when we look at the entire county, Inyo County, you have, you know, $77 million in leakage, which is money that's your households are spending somewhere else, either in other communities or online. And so the study that we've done sort of breaks those into subsectors, and these sectors, you know, this isn't really meant to depress you. It's meant to point out opportunities. Like when we look at the general merchandise sector there's over $28 million in leakage. And that's the sector where you have Targets and Walmarts and that sort of thing. But also clever retailers can get into some of that and serve and plug some of that 28 million. So that's a big opportunity for small businesses as well as larger businesses. Next slide, please. When we were conducting the interviews, housing supply came up again and again as a constraint for economic growth. Start a conversation about business growth, housing comes up immediately. And so we sort of, yes, that's for sure a constraint, but it's also an opportunity. Also through some of the interviews, we learned that it's really hard to get a contractor to work on your house, to build you a deck or to install a new hot water heater. So there's more demand than there is supply, it seems. And so when we looked and from the housing
Gabe, it looks
perspective-
like, Gabe, I'm sorry, it looks like we have a question from Stephen.
I didn't know if we wanted to save questions to the end or should I ask them now? The previous slide, how are you determining those numbers about the leakage?
that is a report run by Esri Business Analysts Online.
Okay.
So it's the geography was for Inyo County. And that's where we also got the income, the household incomes.
I see. And so that report has basically the retail sectors that are basically people are purchasing from outside the area or online shopping and those sorts of things. Is that where that's coming from?
Yes, that's right. They have,
okay.
So the Esri Business Analysts Online is, it's modeled data, right? So these are smart people, they're Californians, right? So they're really smart people, and they aggregate a bunch of different data sources. Probably the most important data source is they purchasing data from credit card companies. So, gosh, bless their hearts, the credit card companies take all our information and sell it to people. And Esri is one of the people that buys that data, and that has a lot of information about where a household is located versus where they're spending their money. So that's how they get this like spatial differentiation. And there are more sectors than we've listed here. These are just the sectors that are exhibiting leakage. Some of your sectors are in surplus. So anything that is like tourism, that like restaurants, for example, you have a huge surplus in that because you have so many people coming through Inyo County and eating in restaurants. It's way more than what your residents are going to spend. So there's some more subtlety to it. But we like to use use Esri Business Analysts Online because it's affordable. Like my subscription is like nationwide, even into Canada. It's a pretty involved subscription. It's $1,200 a year. So, it's accessible and communities can replicate these reports.
Okay, I was just curious where those numbers were coming from. Yeah.
So we found by looking at the construction industry that. Okay, so basically all of the people that we talked to said, look, housing is a constraint. The state of California counts it up and it's like you're hundreds of units short. They continually do that, I think. And your companies in Inyo and Mono County are pretty small. So most of the companies are, 1 to 4 employees. Most of those from talking to people are like one person or maybe 2 people at the most. So the industry could use some growth, right? And that's something that the Business Resource Center can do. It can help smaller companies scale up to meet growing demand. And affordable housing projects are complicated, and sometimes they involve a public bid. And so, if you want to capture that work locally, you've got to have companies that are equipped for that. And similarly, when we were talking to people, there's a lack of commercial real estate inventory, both vacant lots and sort of ready kind of light industrial flex type buildings. There's a real demand for that. And some of this is really complicated because of the land ownership patterns none of this is easy, and it involves government intervention. But even within that complexity of sort of land planning and developing products, there's a role for private sector. If they're motivated and they're being paid, or they won't be paid unless they figure it out, the private sector can come through and contribute to this. So this is where you've got a constraint that's an opportunity, a business opportunity. Next slide, please. California is kind of it's discussed nationwide from the perspective of wildfires and climate change, because it's just so obvious there that this is happening, and you all are like between these really intense mountains and the really intense desert. So you've got a lot of different climate zones and a lot of public land, and initiatives, state and federal initiatives around that. And so within that, there's a lot of business opportunity for environmental science and consulting. And from what we can tell, there isn't a whole lot of capacity locally for that. So that's something that needs to be built up. Either, the way that happens in Colorado, at least, is that the firms are in the metro area and they start to move out and develop offices in other areas. But you want to be able to capture some of that work locally. Next slide. Interesting base industries in Inyo County, surprising stuff. There's a manufacturing industry there, and it's growing. It's like a growth industry, and you don't see that just anywhere. And it's pretty diverse. You've got food and beverage manufacturing, plastics, wood products, all sorts of different things going on. And so anyways, we don't have any particular suggestions about what to do. It's just, this is happening. Maybe get these manufacturers together and see if any opportunities come from that alone. And also electrical power generation is something occurring and has been occurring for a long time. And there are other opportunities around that with sort of renewable energy and the interest in climate change. BLM's got these renewable energy, these designated focus areas, and some of those are covered southern Inyo County, where there isn't much, they could use some additional activity going on in southern Inyo County. So interesting opportunities to check out, and overall very encouraging economic situation there, I think, regionally and locally.
So what do we do with this information? So we, the opportunities that Gabe described, certainly leave open the opportunity for businesses to grow and also businesses to start. And so what you want to create in a community is a healthy ecosystem so that businesses can start up and grow. And they do that kind of organically. So the process that you can look at kind of the ecosystem and see where you can tweak it in order to make it really healthy for businesses is known as kind of this entrepreneurship ecosystem approach. And that's a more common way of looking at how do you help entrepreneurs these days, because it's not just about answering one question, it's making the whole thing work for them. It's like the analogy of a rainforest. And so this is broken down into different domains. And for example, in policy, it would talk about things like the business friendliness of governments, how easy it is to get into business, or what kind of taxation structures and things like that would exist. In the area of finance, we're talking again about that problem with capital, making sure you have the right type of capital available for companies. And culture, it's speaking to, is there a kind of a risk-averse culture, or is it one where people celebrate taking chances? Supports, that refers to organizations or nonprofits or efforts like the BRC, which would support entrepreneurs. And human capital, can people find the workforce that they need in order to help fuel the growth of their company as well? markets? Are there places for people to, companies to introduce new products? How is the supply chain? And so there's just some of the examples of how we look at an ecosystem. So between the data that Gabe was speaking about, another data that we looked at, we were able to sift through a lot of the reports that were provided by the working group to give us a picture of what was going on in Inyo County. And then we supplement that with interviews, because, you know, we can all read reports, but then we can talk to our constituents, and that's really where we find out the good stuff, right? So we did a lot of interviews, and we have recommendations in the report that deal kind of on all of these different domains. Then this was also used to come up with a business plan for the BRC, keeping in mind the BRC can't be the beginning and end all for all things businesses need, but does make sense to be done in the BRC. So essentially, it's about three different components, really. It's the core activities, which involve business development services, events and meetups, and these are direct impact on businesses. But then it's about being an advocate and a catalyst. So being an advocate for the companies that you do have, the individuals you do have, the opportunities that do exist, and being a catalyst and taking advantage of those. And then being kind of a core collaborator in the region to be able to bring resources into the community. The business development resources, the services, a lot of that will be done through partnership with the Small Business Development Center, but then also there'll be more. So in even creating this space, the SBDC will have a larger presence, an office there. They'll have consultants that will be there on a regular basis rather than kind of on the circuit rider that they're operating on now. So networking events, you know, fun things to get people out of the house, to be talking together about opportunities that might exist, to partner on projects, to maybe decide to hire each other, or however the collaboration exists. But getting people out into some networking events that are centered around different target industries are always a good way to do that. And just competitions, pitch events, things just to mix it up. So the Navigator program I mentioned earlier, and it's really at the top of the funnel. And the purpose here is that you don't really know where someone's going to go with what questions. So the hope is that through identifying who the front line is, so it's at the county or the city or the towns, it's some of the people in the planning department, they're generally some of the front line. Excuse me. It's you know, people come to you all the time and ask questions, right? There's people at the bank, there's accountants, there's attorneys, there's a variety of folks that are just asked these questions. You hear it at the coffee shop, right? So the point is that that's a bit of a chaotic approach, and you want to see if you can make that better. So you want to equip people with the tools that they need in order to answer the questions, and you want to make them aware of where they can send people to get the assistance that they need. So you train these frontline navigators, and you start aggregating all of the questions that are being asked, and then you develop the access to those resources in a way that people can digest and find that easily. And that's really critical, because entrepreneurs, they don't really want to spend the time to sift through layers of websites. You know, they want their questions answered. They want them in a digestible format, and they need it now. So the core is the BRC core is going to be serving all of the businesses in Inyo County. So whether you are an environmental science company, or whether you're a baker, or whether you're starting a trekking company, or whether you're an existing business in the construction industry, there'll be resources available to you through the BRC core. And in the process of doing our ecosystem evaluation and looking at the data and the opportunities as Gabe was mentioning, a couple of things that filtered down and seemed to be worthy of initial initiatives are the ones that you'll see on the screen, and tell you a little bit about what we're thinking here. The first one is capital resource development. And, more often than not, when you're talking to business owners, the number one thing they identify as being the biggest challenge they have is access to capital. So when we were doing interviews with business owners and potential business owners, and we talked to the bankers and the regional folks around kind of the capital stack, we found there was a couple of areas that had some weakness, or there was opportunities for improvement. One of which is in kind of microfinance, or the smaller loans, like $5,000 to maybe $50,000 with some flexible terms that you could use to start up your company. And the other one is in investment. So whether you refer to that as VC, angel investment, it's essentially equity investment. And there are a lot of high net worth individuals in the area. And there is kind of an informal situation going on now where people are investing into companies, but there's not really a formal structure. And one of the real challenges when you're looking for investors versus a bank is it's really hard to find them, and it's not a very organized kind of way of getting access to capital. So what our plan is to make that much more organized way of doing it. There's angel groups in areas in the Tahoe and Truckee area. There's angel groups in Kern County. There's angel groups in Fresno and in lots of the areas in and around the state. And this seems like something that we can look at and see if we can make it a little bit more organized and make available to the businesses and climate related industry initiatives. So Gabe spoke a little bit about the environmental services firms and some of the money that's being invested in kind of what we call climate related industries. And this is a big area for investment in both the public sector as well as in foundations. And so as Gabe mentioned, the question is, well, how much of that money that's being spent is actually helping to create kind of long-standing economic impact in the region? Or is it the case that we're having consultants coming in from outside the community and doing the job and leaving? So the objective here is to have more of it stay and more companies actually be able to be formed to be able to handle this kind of work, and employees that are working for these firms. And so that's where some of these kind of targeted industry meetups would occur. Also some technical assistance that would help people to be able to actually apply for the opportunities, because these are more complex RFPs that are issued. There's NEPA regulations and compliance that needs to be done. And so, putting kind of some energy into building the capacity of that sector. And then this other, I'm sorry.
It looks like Jose has a question.
Okay. Yes, Jose.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm glad that in these special projects initially include American Indian and Alaska Native business initiatives. And I'm wondering if they're also considering initiatives to promote businesses for other minorities. In the United States, one of the most growth in business has been in the Latino Hispanic community. So what is being considered as far as including other minorities?
I would say thank you for that question. The initiatives on the screen are just the initial initiatives that we're discussing because of some of the kind of because of some of the conditions that are occurring right now. And I'll explain the American Indian Initiative in a second. But the certainly, I agree with you. There's an amazing amount of opportunity, and we speak to several business owners that are Hispanic and Latinx. I know that the Mexican consulate has been involved in coming to the area and working with folks, and so yes, I think that's obviously it's a logical initiative. It's a logical area to focus on. This is not this is not an exclusive list. This is kind of what's fallen through the, from, that's a current opportunity that we thought that might be addressed. The resources of the BRC are absolutely available for the Hispanic Latinx community. The notion is with the BRC is through this regional collaboration and being kind of the point person, that they'll know more about the regional opportunities and the statewide opportunities and the national opportunities for Hispanic Latinx owned companies. And there are a tremendous amount of them already out there. So it is the plan for the BRC to be a focal point and have the knowledge to be able to serve the Hispanic community. So there's not a specific initiative outlined, but it's absolutely core to what the BRC is going to be doing.
And I guess one follow-up I have on that is, you're talking about the American Indian and Alaska Native Business Initiative. Is this done in conjunction with the tribe? Because I know the tribe was already planning on doing this at their new gas station and have an incubator section over there.
Right.
So
that's what this is. This is a collaboration with them
Okay.
on this, and that's why I wanted to kind of explain that so that it would appear to be more, it would be understood more as this is an initial initiative because of the fact that the tribe, the Bish tribe, is going to be building this 4-unit strip associated with the gas station. And so in conversations with representatives from the tribe, they were concerned that they might not have enough qualified businesses to actually fill these slots. So we discussed an opportunity for the BRC to work with the tribe in order to start running some like ideation initiatives at the high school. And then and that's like, people are just trying to, it's like design thinking where people are looking at, well, what would you do? Or how would this work? And then back to the funnel, then, okay, if that's a business idea and you're interested in it, how do you test out feasibility? And then write a business plan and then apply for one of the slots at the 4 units that are going to become available. So this is kind of a pilot project that'll benefit more than just tribal members because it'll be available to other folks as well. But the goal is to help the Bishop tribe to fill those spots with qualified businesses, and then to wrap around some services that kind of incubate those businesses over time. So that's why, Councilman Garcia, that's why, this floated in as an initiative. It's really because of the 4-unit strip that the tribe is building and their kind of problem that they expressed with respect to wanting to get qualified applicants. So those are the 3 initiatives that we've outlined beyond the BRC core. And this is staffing that we have proposed, essentially 3 full-time positions, an executive director, administrative assistant, and a program director. This is the timeline of when things will start to occur. We plan to start with the Navigator program as soon as possible, and we've already started having conversations in the public meeting about that. We've talked. We've developed it in the business plan, and there's no reason why not to start right away with that. You don't need a building. The events meetups, we'd be introducing some events and meetups to get people out, get them to understand what the resources are and start using them now. There's already resources available. So it's a matter of just connecting the dots. Building partnerships. The first staff is slated to be hired in 2022 and then full staff in 2023. And these are the ways that the project will be measured. These are just some of the ways that the project will be measured, but obviously the number of participants in the funnel activities, there's companies starting, jobs created, increase in GDP, the funds raised, investment funds, or increase in capital in an area. That's these connections, coaching, mentoring sessions, and of course, client satisfaction ratings. And this is the budget. And as you'll see, this is a first draft of the business plan, and this is a first draft of the budget. And there are large negative numbers at the bottom, and there's the county is working through some plans as to how to address that. And so Michaela and Leslie will be talking about that at the end of this presentation, but this is our first look at a budget. And just to close it, it's you know, the things that we're proposing, we're throwing it out the wall a little bit. I mean, when you're creating a project like this, and there's things that we know, there's things that we think we know, and there's things that we don't know. And so, you know, the BRC needs to be innovative and entrepreneurial as well, and try things. And it's not always going to be 100% success. And you might have meetups and people won't show up. You know, you might offer a program nobody signs up for, but it's a matter of trying these things and trying these things. So we've done the, you know, kind of the background look at this. We've come up with some initiatives and ideas of things that can be tried. The core is nothing that extraordinarily different. It's just doubling down and doing that in Inyo County. So appreciate your time tonight and happy to answer any questions, but no, Michaela and Leslie will talk a little bit about next steps.
Thank you, Thea. Does anyone have any other questions for Thea tonight?
I mean, the only other question I have is how are you actually going to be trying to serve a lot of the people who want to be entrepreneurs in the area, because typically those people are ones who have another job right now. And so are your hours, I know you had a public meeting today, but that was during a period when most people are at work. So how are you intending to actually reach out to people who have that entrepreneurial spirit, but are currently working a 9-to-5 to be able to make ends meet?
Yes, that's a very, very good question. And and it's really critical for people that are, you know, supporting entrepreneurs to meet them where they are, right? So, you know, having the ability to do events and meetups after hours is very, very critical. You know, the last thing you want to do is well, with no, well, you understand. You don't want to appear to be a government agency. I mean, you know, you want to be entrepreneurial in your approaches. So there's got to be that culture within the BRC, and it's to be able to serve people with what they need when they need it. And so, however that needs to be done, that needs to be done. I mean, you're absolutely correct. You can't, you know, generally, I always tell people, don't quit your job before you launch this company, because you need an income, right? So it's better you're in a much better position to launch the company while you're still working. So it's up to the BRC to, you know, to make sure that they have resources that can serve them in that way.
Any other questions?
I guess my question is, I had a couple of friends who are business owners who participated in some of the question and answer interview data collection period. And one in particular said to me, she went in confused about what was going to happen and how this could help her. And she came out of the interview just as confused as to how this is going to help her. And so I guess I feel like once we get some more concretes down, it'll be pretty important to reach out to the business owners as they stand right now, so they understand that, you know, how this is going to help them. And I realize that's not a question, so I apologize.
Point well taken. I mean, the interview process was that it was collecting information from them, not really delivering to them what we were going to do. It was a process of, you know, data discovery at that point. So there was not, you know, we weren't like going in there with this is the business plan, this is what we're going to do. And that's the whole point. You know, you want to ask people what they think. So we didn't necessarily have someone to propose to her, but we did reach out to people, invite them to the public meeting. And I know that the county is setting up an email address and gonna get a landing page going pretty quick. And this, you know, business plans are a dynamic document. They're, you know, we're you know, putting a stake here saying this is what we've come up with, but the notion is this belongs to the community. And so how it needs to change and how it needs to adapt going to be up to the community to make sure that it continues to do that over time. But the basic concepts that are in this are not something that hasn't been tried and tested. There are some innovative things about, you know, like grabbing at certain opportunities and kind of putting them into a priority and then acting out on those as initiatives. But they're, you know, but I guess I just want to say I appreciate your comment and I'm sure that will be done.
Well, and just to address a couple, I think that maybe the best way to kind of get at how can this help me is to give some examples. You know, if you're a fully functioning business and you're up and going and you're happy with where you are, then maybe this isn't something you would need. But I will say, I hope we never have another pandemic. But when it hit and there, you know, everyone was kind of confused about the resources and what I can do, this would have been a perfect spot to center those, you know, efforts, whether it was the PPE, protection payment program. You know, we could have brought in financial consultants, we could have brought in trainers, we could have said, hey, this is the place to go. So again, hopefully we won't need that again, but if it does, it's here. We had a business owner today that said, hey, I got a good business I'm going, but man, I want to expand. But I don't even know who to talk to in my particular field that would help me know to get into commercials, the type of equipment I need, what I could do. They could come to the BRC and we could navigate them to the right resources or point them to a mentor, things like that. Also, another example is maybe someone wants to transition out of their business, but hey, I have a business that's a real need in the community. I mean, I've talked to a couple of people like, man, I just want to retire. But if I retire, there's, you know, this service goes away from the community, but I have no one that I know about to hand it to, you know, or that's interested in buying this kind of business. You know, that's the one stop. Then on this side, maybe you have someone that says, man, I just don't want to do the 9 to 5. I'm really into, you know, I want to buy a business. What do you know anything that's out there? You know, kind of that clearinghouse of information is a way that I could definitely see this being an important resource to current businesses, you know, to be a resource through that whole life cycle of a business. And that's a really important reason that we wanted to go beyond what an SBDC can do and be a resource center as opposed to a business development center, you know, to really be a constant resource through the entire life cycle.
Thanks, Michaela. I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other questions for Thea?
Okay, so if there's no questions right now, I'll go ahead and just kind of talk about our next steps. So right now that we have the business plan, so Thea and her team were originally hired to create the business plan, which they've done. We have a really great draft. Through our grant with the USDA, we were able to redistribute some funds to keep Thea and her team on through the implementation phase. So their experience is really invaluable to us. So we're really happy to have them here with us, boots on the ground, to take this from the planning phase to actually opening the doors. So we're really excited about that. Next, as you saw in Thea's budget presentation, we have a bit of a shortfall. So what we're doing in conjunction with all these other steps that are happening is looking for operational funds. One of the first places we're looking right now, myself and Assistant CAO Megan McCammon, is the RISE grant. So that's an example of one of the avenues we're looking at. It's a Rural Innovation Stronger Economies grant. And they give funds to establish and operate innovation centers, which we very much feel that this is going to be. So we're currently having that vetted out to see if it's going to be a good fit. And if we decide to move forward, we'll certainly be coming back to your board for some formal support for that, for our application into that. And then lastly is the building. So the building owner has a construction team at the ready, and they are actually going to start doing some work on the bones, roofing, HVAC, There's some of the front fascia that they're going to start working on and clearing out the miles and miles of pegboard that are in the building. So if anyone needs pegboard, you let me know because we will have some available very soon. So while that's happening, there's a subcommittee of the working group that's the design group. So we are working with the architect that the building owner has hired to draw up the plan. So we're working with him on the layout and the design, which we are really, really close to having. So like I said, we will probably be seeing some construction on the bones of the building very soon, and hopefully the actual remodel in the next probably month, maybe March. And then along with that is the county still has a federal earmark in the works moving forward to get broadband to the building as well as furniture and equipment. So that's still moving forward and we're still very positive about that. So that's all. Let me know if anyone has any questions on that. And if any of the panel has anything else they want to add, I think Leslie does.
The only thing I want to add is a big fat shout out to Elaine Kabbalah, because she's partnered with us from the very beginning. And, you know, the city has supported her, giving her time and her wonderful brain that's full of ideas and creative and also her connections. It was her connections that introduced us to our Opportunity Zone investors. So Elaine, thank you. And I'm happy to help entertain any questions.
Thank you so much, Leslie. This is such an amazing opportunity for new entrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs, well-established businesses. I think this is going to be a huge asset to our downtown business community, the greater Inyo County community, and then just help the economy overall. So it's perfect timing with that airport coming in. So thank you very much. Are there any questions from the public? And any other questions from, looks like
Madam
Alan.
Mayor, we do have one comment.
Okay.
From the public.
Great.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Mayor Schwartz, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Alan Pietrasanta here. I have been involved in the working group on this project since the beginning, if not before the beginning. And I wanted to thank Leslie and Michaela and Elaine for their work, both up from the city and the county on this project, and also want to thank Thea, Gabe, and Leo for all the crunching of the data that and the 30+ interviews they did on behalf of all of us in Bishop and on the East Side to collect information about what people want in terms of business resources. And as I have said all along, the data, what Thea presented tonight only scratches the surface. And I really encourage you to look at what's in the business plan and the backup to the business plan to see more detail there. It's much more multidimensional than just a report on the paper. Karen, to help with some elevator points or bullet points about what the center will do, the center will help both existing business owners and potential entrepreneurs on a multiple levels, whether it's business counseling, what's going on with your financial statement, how to read a financial statement, how to put a business plan together, how to expand, how to find resources to expand, how to deal with workers' comp issues, how to deal with supervisorial or human resources personnel issues, all of that. In addition, it'll also be a resource for capital, for people to find capital for investing or growing in their businesses. Once the center is in place, it will be dynamic in terms of being able to match up people who have their day jobs, Stephen, who have a hard time, it'll be accommodating for that. And as I have joked all along, it'll shift meetings from my front lawn about answering some of the questions that either business owners or prospective business owners have to a formal environment where they can either meet in private or meet with mentors or experts. So it's very dynamic. The last thing I'll say is this report that you have in front of you that'll end up being a business plan, is a dynamic document. And it's just been a delightful process to work with the team and the community to develop something that the community really wants and will fill a need that has never been met before. So we're entering new ground here, and I just think that that is really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time tonight. That was a wonderful, comprehensive presentation. We look forward to seeing the building progress and seeing the next steps come to fruition. All right, thank you very much. So now we're going to move on to another presentation. Tonight, we have the Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau update from Executive Director Tawny Thompson.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay, now I think you can see me. Goodness. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties, and I really hope that Leslie and Elaine and Lel and the team are still on. I just wanted to add on behalf of the Bishop Chamber of Commerce, this is a really long-term dream come true for us. I mean, it is something that we've advocated for and really wanted for our business community for many, many years, to bring this kind of resource center to this side of the Sierra is huge. We've been on this little island kind of all by ourselves and having to fend for ourselves and figure things out for ourselves for many, many years. And it's so nice to be able to now connect people and give them the sort of support that our hardworking business owners really deserve. So I'm really grateful to the county and to everybody that's worked so hard to get it this far so far. So anyway, that's my comment on that. I'll give you guys a brief report. It's hard act to follow, of course, but I'll start with the Chamber of Commerce side of things. We're happy to report 2 new members this month. McGee Creek Pack Station is under new ownership, and I'm also happy to report that they're excited about putting together some winter horseback riding and lodging packages, which is something we haven't offered before, and we'll help market those. And then a new business in Lone Pine, a print shop that's specializing in local stickers, kind of like what Alpine Science did before they left. So there's a new one in Lone Pine. I'm excited to introduce those to everyone. The PPE, if anybody needs masks, we have N95 masks, and we have sanitizer available totally free of charge to any business or organization, church that needs them. We were able to work with the county and the state to get another supply. So, you know, if anybody needs them, we know that stuff can be expensive, but in order to keep everybody safe, we have them. So just contact the chamber, we'll get it delivered to you or set it aside for pickup. Report on the Christmas things. Everything went really, really well. The parade and the tree lighting were well attended. And again, I just can't thank the city, all of the departments and agencies that worked to make the parade and the tree lighting successful and fun for our community. The Railroad Express event was a cooperative event we do each year with Laws. We had to modify things a little bit to keep everybody COVID safe, but they were super successful. We did miss one of our conductors, Stephen, but we still pulled it off. So, but it was very fun. And lots of kids and families really enjoyed the day out at Laws. The holiday raffle program was very successful. We had 20 shops participate and more than 1,000 raffle entries collected. And the prizes were gift certificates from the participating businesses. Plus we pitched in a $500 local shopping spree for that. And the lady that won it was so thrilled. So that was really cool. Collaborations, we're working with all the stakeholders on the Small Business Resource Center, participated in the California Economic Resilience Fund meeting a few weeks ago. We've supported some local art installations out at the Bishop Airport, which we're pretty excited about. There's a few pieces of art inside the terminal, and then we helped facilitate the new sign on that metal sign on the outside of the building. And of course, working with the city and the county and everyone to get the visitor impact study back up and running. So the 2022 is off to a busy start for us. So does anybody have any questions about chamber stuff, or I'll give you a quick visitors side of things.
Annie, I have not a question, or maybe part question, part statement. Last year or more than a year ago, when you guys were delivering PPE to some of the businesses, I did help out doing that, and some of the businesses, probably all of them, were very thankful for the PPE. So if you want to put another round of bags with PPE to be delivered, I'll be happy to. I know some of the Mexican stores would like to have some more PPE.
Yeah, and that would be great, Jose. That'd be really helpful for us. So I'll connect with you on the site about that. So
Thank
that'd
you.
be wonderful. Thank you. Does anybody else have any chamber stuff? I'll go to visitor side. We are helping to promote the new passenger air service. We're using some of our existing advertisement in some of the niche publications to attract specific users for this time of year. For example, fly fishermen, climbers, photographers, folks that are interested in coming here for reasons in addition to skiing. And so bird watching is a big deal. So we have this cool ad that is in Living Bird magazine that says birds fly to Bishop and now you can too. And so it's, you know, kind of playing with that. We are using our social media platforms to help promote the air service, and also working to spread the word locally about the local discount on air service. And so as of, I believe as of right now, the service will go through the 3rd week of March, and then they're working on hopefully getting another agreement for summer service. I personally believe that getting a year-round service is going to be really, really important. They may not be able to go to like all 3 hubs 7 days a week, but if we could get to a point where we have enough demand for year-round, I think that'll be huge. So we're doing everything we can. We have the new Visit Widget app that we've talked to you about. We're working with the app developers on the import of the information from our existing websites into this new app. It's going to be really slick when it's ready. And I saw a beta version of it today, and I just can't wait to roll that out to you hopefully next month. And if all goes well, we did apply for a Inyo County CPSP grant, which would allow us to put a touch screen kiosk out at the airport featuring the Visit Widget, so people that are at the terminal can find out some more things to do in and around the greater Bishop area. So since we don't have a visitor center there, we'll at least have a presence there, hopefully. The Hawking Club was successful. That was January 11th through the 16th. We're looking forward to the new Trout Rodeo. This is a brand new catch and release fishing tournament that we've been talking about with our friends with the Fly Fishing Club for about 5 years. So it's finally coming to fruition. It was supposed to happen last year, but it's on track for this year. And then Blake Jones is coming March 12th. We're already very busy planning that. The visitation in the Bishop Visitor Center has been very quiet for the last 2 weeks. I think it's Omicron. People are just not out and about. That's okay, because we have lots of back office administrative things that we need to be catching up on. We are still getting a good amount of information requests for visitor guides, and people are in the trip planning mode, just not really traveling right now. I mean, they're skiing, but they're just not coming in the visitor center right now. And then I gave you guys the occupancy report for, actually, a 7-year look back. And we're certainly not to pre-pandemic levels, but we did better than our initial projections and better than some other destinations that we compete with, and then certainly better than some destinations that are relying on like convention, big convention kind of business. So I would be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
I mean, it does look like November and December occupancy are above pre-pandemic level. So at least that's 2 points going up. So that's good.
We may have been helped out in December by some road closures when it comes to.
We'll take it.
Yeah. But yeah, the big snow definitely has helped that. And November and December were good months. So there were a lot of people here during the holidays, enjoying themselves and stuff. So yeah, happy about those 2 months. And January is off to a good start, comparatively. It's just really quiet with the walk-in traffic. So I think people are going to the hotel and then straight out to the outdoors and not spending time with us.
Connie, I wanted to follow up with the chamber meeting last week too. I told you that I would get in touch with High School Rodeo on the contract. It looks like we're in year 2 of 5 on this current contract, and potentially in 1 more year than that because of COVID. So we're in good shape, but it looks like, yeah, they love Bishop so much that they again renewed the contract without even going to a vote. So just a follow up.
That means we're keeping them happy. So thank you. And thank everybody, because that takes an army of volunteers to keep them happy. So anybody who's listening that has served beans or taken tickets or whatever you do to help out, we appreciate it. So
thank you, Tani. Any other questions? All right, well then let's move on to the Eastern Sierra Tri-County Fairgrounds quarterly update with prepared by Chief Executive Officer Jen McGuire.
Evening, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I've caught the elusive COVID. I've dodged it this entire time, and I'm quarantined in my trailer, so my Wi-Fi isn't the greatest. So in front of you, you have my report. We just returned, myself and staff and a few of my board of directors. We went to the Western Fairs Convention in Reno, and where we came back with a wheelbarrow full of awards, and I won't go over all of them. You can see from your the notes I submitted to you, but we came back with a good fair amount of awards, and we're really, really proud of that. And again, if you're not in the in the fair industry, it's kind of hard to elaborate how important these awards are. It just means that you're noticed, you're relevant. A lot of times small fairs like us get overlooked by the big guys, the big state fairs and Cheyenne Frontier Days, and the really big guys, but little guys like us are doing good work, and it shows. Just shout out to my staff and my volunteers that these awards wouldn't be possible without all of them. A special achievement award that we did receive was from the California Secretary of Agriculture, Ms. Karen Ross, and that's just based on our resiliency and our service to our community. And that one I'm really proud of, and we're going to hang that one high. I don't believe we've been recognized by her in many, many years. So that's a great achievement. Some of the 22 fair updates, while we're at convention, it's a place to network and seek out new talent and professionals and whatnot. And we're excited about some of the new entertainment coming to this year's fair. We've already leaked out some information about some of the animal exhibits, sloths and baby kangaroos, and a whole jungle of animals will be here. So we're really excited about that. Excited about a BMX show. And of course, our music and grounds and entertainment will be just off the charts as always. We try to handpick special things, something for everyone, and cover all of our bases. Our fair theme was selected by our board of directors this year, and it's going to be a red, white, and blue theme. So it's 2022 Celebrate Red, White, and Blue. And our goal is to light up the grounds with red, white, and blue. During Christmas, you might have saw I had blue lights on the fence. My idea was to put red, white, and blue lights on the fence, but the red and white ones were on back order. So blue made it to the fence for Christmas, and we're excited about that. But look for some exciting new light displays for our events and to celebrate the red, white, and blue. The youth poster contest will be released this month. And we're excited to see what we get in that and what kind of contestants and artwork we receive. The pie has been announced. The pie is going to be a peach pie this year. The cookie contest is going to be a filled cookie. So any type of filled cookie. And we're going to elevate the first, second, and third prize, money prizes. So we expect to get a lot more entries. The entries in these two categories have been really great. So by adding a few extra $100 here and there, I think we're gonna take it over the top. The all new exhibit book is now complete. We've had a group of volunteers, actually one volunteer in particular, working on that exhibit book. She took it and rewrote it, and it needed a lot of work. We've kind of divided it in two categories where we have an adult book and a youth book, and make it easier for the schools to take that youth book and run with it. So we're hoping this might elevate some of our exhibit entries as well. And I'm hoping to showcase and highlight some of our divisions each month in the local paper and really get some excitement and interest going, a lot of talk going about the fair and some of the entries. As far as marketing goes, we're always doing new things. We've got a new website in production. We've acquired some billboards on the highway. We've got one just outside of Independence. It's north facing, and it's actually it's south facing north traffic, and it advertises our RV park and campground. And I just acquired one right outside of Bishop, and that'll advertise our events. So look for monster trucks to make the billboard here really soon. We're still trying to keep a strong presence in Tonopah and Ridgecrest and the entire AV area, even though we're kind of quiet right now with events. We're staying relevant on our radio, print, and our digital marketing. One of the workshops I attended at the convention was how to market to the millennials. And so really going to concentrate this year on being active on TikTok and Snapchat. So really to market to the millennials. A selfie museum is something that's kind of new to the millennials. It's really hot right now. And if you don't know what a selfie museum is, just Google it. You'll be amazed. I was really amazed. But look for a selfie museum coming to the fair this year. It's a place where we can transform our still exhibits into something really interactive. And the selfie museums are actually very attractive to the millennials and the younger generation. So look for that to come as well. I also have a entertainment and a production consultant firm coming out to do a site visit on the 3rd. They're gonna actually put a plan together for me on the different levels of stage and entertainment plans that I can host here on grounds, whether it's in the main arena, whether it's in the carnival lot, whether it's in the drive-in lot. They're really going to identify my gross potential for various new events coming to the area. With the airport here, it's kind of a game changer of what we can do. But again, you know, it's one of those things where you got to get a consultant to come in and really advise you. I might think that I can catch 5 fish in a 3-fish pond, but they're there to ground me and say, no, you can't catch 5 fish in a 3-fish pond. So I'm excited about the potential of entertainment we can bring to the Valley with the help of these consultants and these production companies. As far as our facility improvements, we're still working with Department of General Services on the Charles Brown heating and air upgrade, and it looks like it's really going to happen. As you know, working with the state, it's slow and go, but now we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it looks like by next year we're going to have new heating in the Charles Brown. So we're not going to have the 1950s propane version; it'll be current. If there's money left from the grant that we got from them, they're going to actually work on our bathrooms and do an ADA bathroom upgrade for us. So we're really excited about those two improvements. We've gotten some donations, and we're going to put in some new arena sound. That was one of the big complaints we had this past year. So look for some new arena sound coming real soon. Also, we're mapping out some key improvements to our arena and equestrian areas, really to just make it more desirable for people to come and use our facilities. I'm excited to say that Friends of the Fair purchased us a brand new forklift. So it's a nice treat for us to have a new forklift. We can't function without a forklift. And they also purchased a six tap draft trailer. And so that'll be functioning hopefully early May. Events, Mule Days, we all know is we're moving full steam ahead with that. Tickets are on sale February 1st. And so far we're not worried about any capacity restrictions. We have a ton of D9 district rodeos here. We have one this weekend. It's a makeup rodeo from a cancellation from a prior facility, and they love Bishop, so we got it. So they're coming this weekend. They're coming next weekend. They'll be back here in March and in April, and of course back in June as well. We are hosting and donating space for the 4-H fundraiser. the washerboard tournament on Saturday, the 5th of February. So that's something that we're excited about. One of my new events this year, you've kind of already heard about it, but it's going to be May 7th. It's the barbecue, chili, and salsa competition with monster trucks that night. So, and that monster truck show is getting bigger and better. We got 2 ride trucks coming, possible lawnmower races, and some other fun events mixed in there. So that'll be a special treat for all of us. We did have tractor pulls scheduled for February, but they've been rescheduled just due to COVID and conflicts and whatnot, but that will come to Bishop. We're working on alternative dates as we speak. As always, we'll have some sort of summer concert series. And once I meet with my consultants, we'll figure that out, but it's gonna be everything from tribute bands to recording artists. So look for that coming out on our schedule really, really soon. One particular event that I'm really excited about is really bringing back the PRCA rodeo, bringing back Flying U Rodeo to Bishop. I met with Reno Rosser while I was in Reno, and they're excited about coming to Bishop. Bishop's one of their favorite places to put on a show, but we're looking to do a combo PRCA rodeo and a Charo style event. So that'll be something fun, unique for our area as a one-off event, not during the fair, but as a one-off event. And that concludes my report for tonight. Any questions?
Wow, Jen, thank you. I'm excited for all those events.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Does anyone have any other comments? Okay. Well, thank you very much for all you bring to Bishop. It is really wonderful. Next, we have our department reports. First off is Fire Chief Joe Dell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. How am I coming through?
Perfect.
Well, the first thing on my report, I'll be pretty brief, is we're going to do the EMS staffing for the rodeos, and coming in after Jen, we're going to have to up our game to figure out how to staff EMS with all of our events coming up. So it's going to be a pretty tough thing to fill, and we'll make sure that we do it. But anyways, we're staffing the rodeo this weekend. They've asked us to staff all the District 9 high school rodeos throughout the rest of the year, and it looks like we'll be able to do it. We'll push forward to figure out sustainability of that program. And then the other thing too is long-awaited inspections are going to start, which means you'll be fielding complaints, unfortunately. But Megan's training is up to date, and we're ready to start getting rolling with the business inspection program. It'll roll out with some mailers prior to people getting inspected, and then some flyers that explain exactly why we're doing it, and then move forward with making it happen. And that's where I'm at, unless you guys have any questions.
No questions for me. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. Next up, Police Chief Richard Standridge.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. How's everyone this evening? So I don't know if I really want to put out my department report after following the fair. I kind of feel like I haven't been doing anything. My Lord, they're getting a lot of stuff done over there. I had a great time last year, my first fair. A couple of things I want to talk about. We had a good meeting with all of the local health and law enforcement partners this last week with NIH and Southern Inyo and Toyabe. Joe was on there with me as well. A lot of good information passed and shared as we're all trying to navigate through these difficult times, and some ways that we can work together as we move forward in relation to mental health. I had a good meeting in between the last council meeting with Marilyn Mann. We're trying to develop a plan to get critical incident training here in the Eastern Sierra for all the law enforcement agencies. It's going to take a little bit of work, but I think given some time, we're going to be able to pull that off for all of our first responders and healthcare providers, as many as we can get in. Our 2 trainees are doing well on training, both Carla and Rochelle Gosviner. They're coming along as we would expect. And our other entry is Cody Lawson is in his 2nd week of the police academy, so we'll see how that goes. We're getting some interest in the trainee positions that have been flown. We've got some applications moving forward there. Our new dispatcher started today, so we're fully staffed in the dispatch center. And last but not least, we're putting together the county chiefs meetings for myself, Sheriff Pritchard, and DA Tom Hardy, the tribal police chief, as well as probation chief. We're going to start meeting. We're going to start monthly at first and possibly quarterly to talk about issues affecting all of us, legislation, different things moving forward. So that's kind of what we got going on for the police department. And I'll wrap up with, I'm going to start providing a monthly report to council in writing, and it will be presented at the last council meeting of each month. And then any additional highlights that aren't covered there is what I'll discuss in department head reports. So if you don't have any questions, I'll sign off. But if you have questions, I'll be ready to answer. Thank you, council. Pleasure. See you soon.
Next up, Community Services Manager. Oh, sorry. Next up, Public Works Director, Destin Deshawn.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So the trunk line project, the long-awaited trunk line project, is going to start on Monday, the 31st. We've reached out to all the kind of the general area over there, passed out notices, let them know what's going on, and also worked out press release, because it's going to be a little bit disruptive at times, but as long as everybody knows what's going on, it usually goes well. It's been my theory. We submitted, as the city of Bishop, a pre-application to the State Water Quality Control Board for the planning and design of a new wastewater treatment plant. We made it through the first cut, actually got assigned what they call a caseworker that will manage the application with me going forward. So that's big news right there. Right? That's a $500,000 grant we're asking for. Hector Martinez was promoted to lead worker last week. We went through interview with 4 other public works, or 3 other ones, and Hector ended up coming out on top. So congratulations to Hector. And lastly, just the materials pit that we had at the last meeting, the agreement that we did not sign at that time, will be a while off. Brought up some points about the environmental things, and so the LADWP is doing their homework, and they're responsible for CEQA if it's needed. So we're going to be waiting on that before I bring that back to you. But other than that, there's lots going on, but other than that, unless you have any questions of me, that'll be it for Public Works.
Okay, any questions from anyone? All right, well, thank you so much, Destin. Let's move on to Community Services Manager, Dan McElroy.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. How do I sound tonight?
Fantastic.
Just a quick update from Community Services. Top of our list tonight is we submitted the Prop 68 Rural and Tourism Grant last week, and we'll be crossing our fingers and holding our breath for the next couple of months while the state reviews grants. It is a competitive grant, so within that grant, we put in about $2.6 million in improvements. We could apply for up to 3, but we went with about 2.6 million improvements to the pool area, playground, and of course, a new community building located adjacent to the pool. So look forward to that. It was a lot of work from our staff, especially Brittany, Carrie, myself, and Waylon. We all chipped in and did a lot of work on that. So we got that pushed out, and thank you to Ilya from Grant Consultants for helping us as well. So next up is going to do a little bit of tree work at Sunrise. The mobile home is getting ready to be moved. That was unit 14. So we'll be working over there this week and hopefully have the mobile home removed by the end of the week. We also, with our pool purchases, we received a lot of the new equipment in. We'll be installing a new heat exchanger in the pool in the next couple weeks. We continue to work on our ball fields and getting them ready for high school sports, as well as spring soccer and everything else that's going on in the park. Of course, Mammoth soccer as well. Saturday was a very busy day in the park, and pretty soon that'll pick up into weekdays and it'll just be busy, busy, busy. So our season has already begun. I know Brittany has begun working on summer camps and summer planning for the summer. So we begun work on that. This week, we also have a Parks and Rec Commission meeting at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. And other than that, that's all I have for you guys, unless you have any questions.
Congratulations getting that grant application submitted. That's a big deal.
Yeah, whew, just the submittal was enough.
Dan, did they give you any time frame for when they might have results?
Yeah, July.
Okay. I won't bother you then with it for a while.
Well, I'll bother you if we get it. So it'll be super exciting. So.
Okay, thank you so much, Dan. Let's move on to Associate Planner, Economic Development Coordinator, Elaine Kabala.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Not a large number of updates this evening. We are also working with the grant consultants to develop a grant application through the Caltrans Clean California grant, specifically for implementing a wayfinding program in downtown Bishop, and also providing for gateway monuments as you're coming into the community. The CEQA work continues for the downtown specific plan. I'll look forward to coming back to your council with updates on that. We're continuing to process the cannabis applications that we've received. Looking to work with a consultant to provide third-party review of those applications. And we'll come back to the council with updates as that's moving forward. And then finally, we've finalized the agreement with CDBG or with Housing and Community Development for that CDBG funding for CARES Act relief, and we'll be preparing a request for proposals to have a consultant who can help us distribute that funding into the community. That's my updates for this evening, but I'm happy to take any questions you have. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. And then we'll move on to Acting City Administrator, Destin Deshawn.
Good evening again, Council. I should have waited to put this tie on until this part. It doesn't feel right. So we've got, there's lots of stuff going on, but I'll just bring up a couple important ones. I have a meeting Wednesday. I've set up with Adam Perez, the Aqueduct Manager that runs LADWP here locally, and start establishing a relationship. At first, it's going to be very informal, just talk about issues that we both have, projects, and again, just develop a relationship where we can start talking at this local office level again. Elaine and I met, and this is kind of a big one, with Megan McCammon of the county, who's the Assistant County Administrator and in charge of housing. We're starting the discussions of, how do we tackle this housing issue in Bishop together? How, what they have a number of properties, as we all know, that LADWP has earmarked in the long-term water agreement. Are those properties maybe effective? And then also is, how do we get started? So we're going to start working with developers and fostering those ideas of how do you pay for all this stuff? And what makes sense and what doesn't through a developer's eyes. I worked with community services staff week before last, and implementing kind of some protocols for the after school program and COVID. Trying to work with Inyo County to deal with that. The schools, they're just inundated with this coronavirus at the time. They can't keep up with contact tracing. And I don't think it's right that these children might have been exposed and they won't hear from the county for 2 weeks. Not because they can't, they just are so far behind. So we worked out protocols for that and implemented that. And I think it will protect the children at the classes as well as our staff. So, there's lots going on, but those are just some of the highlights in the last few days. And I'm also working with all of the different staff and department heads and trying to figure out where we're having deficiencies and where we need help and what we need to do moving forward. But a lot to tackle at one time, one thing at a time.
Destin, are we still going to try to have a strategic planning meeting?
Yes, that's something I'm working with the department heads. I talked to Mayor Swartz. I think we need to push it back some time maybe into, into February or so. So we want to bring something that is reasonable and is worthy of everybody's time that we bring to the council to move forward with. So yes, the long answer, yes.
Great, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much, Destin.
Thank you.
The next item is the consent calendar. Notice to the public, all matters under the consent calendar are considered routine by the city and will be acted on by one motion. Does anyone have any comments or questions about the consent calendar? Is there any public comments?
I do not see any public comments in our public comment email, and I do not see any raised hands at this time. Elaine, can you confirm?
There are no raised hands.
Thank you.
I'll move that we accept consent calendar as is.
I'll second.
Second that.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote.
Yeah, I got Councilmember Mahoney making the motion and Councilmember Kong seconding. Call for the vote. We have Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-0.
Then we're moving on to new business, waste management and recycling services agreement, community services.
Good evening once again, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So tonight for you, we have a contract agreement, waste management and recycling services with Preferred Septic Incorporated. The proposed agreement with Preferred Septic Incorporated is for a 5-year contract with 3 additional 1-year extensions. The background and history, the City of Bishop has been in a current contract with Preferred Septic Incorporated since December 1st of 2015 for the provision of the waste disposal and recycling service for all city maintained facilities. The recent amendment to the contract is due to the expiration January 31st, 2022. In our analysis, Inyo County Waste Management currently sets the rates allowable in Inyo County for all waste and recycling services in accordance with the current CPI. These rates were released in mid-December of 2021. The current agreement allows these rates for the 2022 year, with each year of the agreement following the rates set forth by Inyo County with the expectation of increases. The recycling portion of this agreement will now have a fee associated to help cover the costs of increasing fuel and staff. The budget impacts, budget for the department has been set with the expectation of waste increases. However, the fire department will see the most impact due to the fact that the costs of the recycling and their trash were covered by a donation. City Administrator Pucci has reviewed this item and finds that the recommended action complies with the law. And tonight, our recommendation would be the council to consider the review and approve the proposed agreement and continue waste and recycle services provided by Preferred Septic and Disposal Incorporated for a 5-year contract with 3 additional 1-year extensions. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Does anyone have any questions regarding this contract?
I actually have a question. I mean, not in particular to this contract, but it does touch on a subject that I think we all kind of care about. What would it actually, Dan, do you have any idea what it would actually cost to expand the city's recycling services, i.e. to like have a recycling center at the park that maybe gets that members of the community can use, and like have a real one that's more than just say plastic 1 and 2. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Ideally, I would love to have like curbside recycling across town, but baby steps.
Right, and that's this did come up in our department head meeting today, and everybody kind of weighed in on it. So there were some good thoughts to come out of that. So Stephen, we'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
But it is something that we all agree is a necessity, not only in the city, but within the city park. Currently, right now, we have 11 recycle stations within the city park, as well as 6 on Main Street. The issue with that is what we see is a lot of people just dumping their trash in them.
Yeah.
So it's really a separation issue that we face. The cost associated with it could probably be covered by our staff in the short term. Right now we have AMACA, or I'm sorry, not AMACA, but IMA that works at the city park 3 days a week. But due to COVID, they kind of have relinquished that a little bit, and they're just kind of staying away from everyone. But typically in the summertime, they'll go through those recycle bins 3 days a week and they'll separate out. And that recycling money goes to such a good home. So that's a great partnership. And I would hate to lose that partnership with them as well. But there's an actual larger issue with that is not only people dumping trash, but sometimes it becomes absolutely overwhelming for the cans that we do have, especially with COVID. It's been, we've almost doubled the amount of efforts that we put into trash on a daily basis. But with that, Stephen, yes, we'll get back to you. We're working on that. And hopefully someday we can work to a greater Bishop where everyone has recycling at their house. That would be great. So.
Okay. Cool. I mean, I have no questions on this contract.
Sorry, long answer.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, any public comment?
There are no public comments in our public comment email, and I do not see any raised hands. Elaine, can you confirm?
There are no raised hands.
Thank you.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move that we approve the contract as is.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Let's call for a vote.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you,
Okay.
council.
Thank you, Dan. All right, future agenda items. Does anyone have a future agenda item to add? Okay, doesn't look like, oh, Karen?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we take advantage of this time between now and the CEQA document being finished up. So I'd love to put a sign ordinance and some parking discussion on a future agenda.
And preferably one before April.
Anything else?
Could I get a further clarification from the council or direction? We talked about revisiting our values statement. And is that, what is the council, when we talk about that, what exactly do you mean? Are we talking about just bringing it up and reading again and making it clear to the citizens and everybody that we have a value statement and this is what it is? Or are we talking about reworking the statement? I just want to make sure we're clear as staff is.
I just wanted to recite it and then I just had some suggested edits to because it's a breathing, living document. And so
yes,
a lot changes in 4 years or so. And so I just had some minor edits to update it. So, I mean, if you you should poll the council on what versions we have, but we just recite it.
That's fine. And I think that would be the poll of the council would be, I understand 5 of you or each of you want to weigh in on that quickly. So staff goes the right direction with that.
Yeah, I was thinking it was time to reread what we had written. And if we have some minor things to add, that sounds great. If anyone has stuff to add, please give it to Destin.
And I also wanted to take a peek at it because I didn't get a chance the first time around because I wasn't here.
Yeah, basically, we just want to recite it again. And
Yeah,
so we're
great.
taking this opportunity to update it as needed.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Jose, did you have anything to say?
No, I agree with that. I'm actually
Okay.
already talking to Destin about that.
Great. Okay. Any other future agenda items? Okay, let's go on to council and committee reports. Karen Kong.
I attended a few meetings in the last couple of weeks. But I think the most interesting thing that's happened is that the Owens Valley Groundwater Authority, Mono County, voted to drop out of the board. And so we're going to be talking about that in our February meeting to figure out what that means and how the Mono County representative was also vice chair. So we'll have to do some shifting around that way. But that's the most interesting thing that's happened, besides that I have a new grandbaby.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay, Stephen.
LTC was canceled. I want to remind the general public that this Saturday is free dump day because it's free dump day. Well, not hazardous waste, but like the majority of stuff that you take to the dump, it's apparently free this Saturday. And then I attended my first fire commission meeting and got a pretty comprehensive review of the review of current services and call volumes from the past few years. And I learned a lot about the current state of the fire district and all of our services, as well as the future concerns. And the future concerns are mainly that, as with many of our facilities, we haven't really invested that much in infrastructure. We haven't really had to invest that much in infrastructure in the past 30 years or so. And so the bill is coming due. And on the low estimate, because I mean, with all due respect to Joe, I think Joe Dell, I think he gives us low estimates. But he was estimating something about like around $5 million in the next 5 years for a bunch of infrastructure improvement and that need to happen. And so we're starting to have a discussion on how to do that in conjunction with the rural fire district. So there'll be more to come on that in the future. But that's it.
And Jose?
Actually, I attended the same meetings as Stephen. LDC was canceled, and I also attended the Fire Executive Committee meeting. And I have nothing else to add to the report that he just gave us. Thank you, Stephen.
Great. I attended an ESTA meeting, and ESTA has a new administration manager, Dawn Vital, and she is stepping up in Carrie. Oh my gosh, I can't remember Carrie's last name, but she's replacing Carrie, the previous administrator manager. And they are having an impact with COVID and drivers, but they have been able to keep all their routes going and have not cut any services, which has been great. And they have not seen too much of an impact from the airport. The passengers, they're easily able to manage them. And so that has been, they've added some stops to the airport, but it hasn't overwhelmed them by any means. And ridership is up from last year. And you will see they're about to look at some new branding. So you're going to see some new ESTA logos on the buses in the next couple of months. I also attended a BAWA meeting, and we gave direction to look at the feasibility of the cost of a new plant. And it looks like Destin was right on that with his report today. And then this afternoon, I participated in the community meeting with the entrepreneurs for the Sierra Business Resource Center that we received a presentation on today. So that is it. I would like to adjourn this meeting to Valentine's Day, Monday, February 14th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Here on Zoom. Okay, have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.